Hey everyone, Jamie Laszlo here. Yesterday, as you know or probably know, we lost David Crosby. And yes, he was 81. Yes, he was old. Yes, he was lucky to make it to 81. He probably should have died a million times between 1977 and 2022. But I mean, it's not surprising, but it still hurts. It I have a long history with David Crosby and especially Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I became a fan sometime around 1984, maybe late 84. And it's funny because the first song I ever loved by the band was Southern Cross. And it's still my favorite song to this day. But before I ever saw them play, on like whether it was Woodstock or before I saw the video for Southern Cross. All I had was the voices and the pictures of the guys, and I thought for a short amount of time before I saw them on TV, whether Woodstock or the video. I thought David Crosby sang Southern Cross just by the way he looked. I'm like, that looks like the guy who would have that smoky voice. You know, I, I didn't know. So I was actually kind of surprised when I saw him. I think it was the video for Southern Cross. I'm like, oh, then it all started coming together. And I got that CD. Well, what I got for Christmas in 1985, I asked Santa for a CD player and Crosby, Stills, and Nash CD. I wanted the one with Southern Cross. And Santa brought me Deja Vu. And I remember going, this ain't the one I want. And I returned it and got Daylight Again, which has Southern Cross. But then I got Deja Vu like less than a year later. And I used to listen, man, going to high school in 1980 when I first got my license in late 85, early 86. Man, a lot of people around me, a lot of kids around me were listening to, the Bon Jovis and the Poisons and everything, and the Motley Crues. And I was listening to a little bit of that too, along with Maiden and Priest. But I was listening to their greatest hits so far every day I drove to school. So I was driving to school when I was a sophomore. And I remember pulling in to the parking lot at the high school, and side one would always be just ending as I pulled in. And I'll tell you this too. I've seen, there's some bands out there. I haven't seen bands like I've seen that. I can't say it to any artist that I love. I've seen that band 23 times. But David Crosby is the one artist I've seen the most at 11 times, uh, even more than Pat Benatar. She would have tied with him for 11 if she didn't cancel on me one time in 1988. But yeah, I saw him with CSN 6 times. I saw him with CSNY twice. I saw him with just Crosby Nash twice, and then I saw him solo uh, once in 1989, which that tour is captured. I was just listening to this, which kind of inspired me to make this video. King Biscuit Flower Hour is what I was listening to this morning. And this is from the tour from 1989. So it's kind of like a time machine for me. It's not the same exact show, but it's probably the same set list. And I'll tell you this, every time I've seen David Crosby, Crosby Nash, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, or with Neil Young, I always said this, even when I was in my late teens and 20s. I've seen David Crosby in something as small as a tent with Graham Nash in Pittsburgh. And I've seen him with CSN in hockey arenas and big outdoor pavilions. And I always felt like, no matter the size of the venue, you always felt like, excuse me, that you were inside their home. Like they invited you inside their home and they just happened to they decided to bust out some guitars and sing some songs for you. That's what it always felt like. And they would have like a rug on the sometimes they would have a rug on the stage, which kind of gave it that home feeling as well. And they would mess around with each other on stage and kind of rib each other. And it was just a good feeling going to those concerts. And they always sounded so good. The first time I saw them, it's I've been chasing that buzz ever since. I couldn't even drive when I saw them. I got dropped off by my parents with a buddy of mine. And one of the first concerts I think it was my second concert as older teenager. My first was Dio, Sacred Heart, and I think my second was Crosby, Stills and Nash with the Fabulous Thunderbirds. And I did not expect to get emotionally invested like this. They did a Southern Cross, and the old Civic Arena or Mellon Arena went by two different names in Pittsburgh. It was a dome. They called it the Igloo because it looked like an igloo. And it was made I think they built the thing in 1960 maybe. And it was made to be an opera house, I believe. So the acoustics were great in there. I missed that place. It needed to go. I get it. It was a dirt, it was a dirt hole, but the acoustics were great. And the roof opened. So you had these slices of pie almost that made up the roof, and they overlapped each other until there was just one slice of the pie left and the rest of the roof was open. And we're talking a hockey arena, so it's pretty big. And two things about that show that I just never forget is when they did Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. They came out and did an acoustic set, and the acoustic set ended with Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. And right before they went into the do part, the band kicked in, and I did not see that coming. I didn't even notice the guys behind them in the dark getting into place to kick in, and it just blew me away. And then they did Southern Cross, and that's when they opened the roof during Southern Cross, and the breeze was coming through, and you saw the night sky and the songs playing, and that's the buzz I have been chasing ever since when I go to shows. Give me that. That's how I measure my shows. Was it as good as that concert? So yeah, that's why I kept going to see them over and over. They never topped that for me. Maybe it's because I was young and it was my first experience, and you get a little immune to it as you get older. Yeah, it's gonna rock. I didn't expect that when I was 15 years old. So yeah, and then when I saw him in 1989, I tell you what, I was a broke college student and I could barely afford the ticket, but I remember telling people, I better go because this guy might die any second. And that was 30, 33, 34 years ago. So yeah, he kept going, man. And he knew he was going to die soon too, because I remember him going on Howard Stern not too long ago saying, yeah, I'm going to die pretty soon. But you know what? The For Free album that he did about a year and a half, 2 years ago, it was a good way to go out. I think that was solid record. And if you listen to some of the tracks on there, you know that he knows that that's going to be his last record. So yeah, I mean, been listening to the guy since before I could drive. Now I'm 53 years old, and it sucks that he died without being on speaking terms with Stills, Nash, and Neil Young. I mean, you reap what you sow. The things that he said. I'm sure he wasn't the easiest guy to get along with. I'm sure they forgave him more than once. Whatever it was that separated them for good, I wish it didn't happen. I always kind of wanted one more tour, even though I knew it wasn't going to happen. I just wanted one more tour, because when they toured in 2014, I believe it was, I missed it. So yeah, I'm kicking myself for that. I think it was 2014. So yeah, I just wanted to give, because when one of your favorites dies, it's you know it touches you a little bit more than I appreciate things like when Jeff Beck went, but I really didn't have the emotional ties to Jeff Beck that I have with David Crosby and Crosby, Stills and Nash, and I even listened to the Byrds, and so, anyways, that's my little video on this. Oh, look, I'm like in the dark. Oh, very sad in here, isn't it? So yeah. So go listen to some David Crosby. Hey, I don't know if this is out on YouTube or anything. This is very good. It's got a little bit of it has a lot of maybe about 4 or 5 songs from the Oh Yes I Can album at the time, and then it's got the Almost Cut My Hair and Long Time Gone and Wooden Ships and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a nice snapshot of what David Crosby was doing in 1989. So I would recommend listening to that today if you can find it. So until next time, guys, take care, have a good one, and I'll be talking to you.